Hello, Africa, and welcome to yet another exclusive episode here on DW Africa. My name is Josey, Mahachi, and today I'm joining you all the way from Lagos, Nigeria, where we have yet another young entrepreneur who's making waves in his field. We are talking of Mr. Oluwadurotimi, Ojamamoye of Assetrise Limited. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Let's just unpack it for some people that might not understand exactly what is Agro Real Estate. Can you tell us what exactly is that?
Thank you. So we're in the city of Lagos, and it's almost like everywhere should be built up with houses. So the question is, when we build everywhere with houses, what are we going to eat?
Okay.
So we have to be deliberate in creating land for agricultural purpose and allocate them for agricultural purpose. So in real estate, it is not just about building houses. We can have real estate that is focused on agriculture.
Okay.
So that's the combination of what we have now as Agro Real Estate, land dedicated for agriculture.
All right. And what inspired you to start this type of business?
Okay, so I grew up with a farming background. My father was a farmer. He never had any formal education, but I grew up in his wealth, and he died when I was 14 years old. But the good thing about him was he took care of all our future from agriculture. To me, he is the definition of sustainability, because at the age of 14, losing my father, I thought that was the end of schooling. We're going to have to live backward in life. But till today, we have our life updated with everything that we want. Education, housing, everything was taken care of from farming. And that to me looks like, oh, there is much about this farming. So we explore more of what he's doing with oil palm plantation, and found out that the palm plantation is well over 40, 50 years now and still fetching us money in the family. So I decided to build more on that legacy, teaching Nigerians how they can create sustainable wealth from oil palm plantation. And we've been able to do this justifiably by establishing palm plantation in 4 different states in Nigeria today.
Which states are those?
Oyo State, Lagos State, Ondo State, and Ogun State.
I thought you were going to start with Lagos State. Yes. Anyway, how old is Assetrise Limited, and how does it align with your personal leadership philosophy?
Assetrise is 5 years plus. Leadership-wise, I can see that we are changing the perception of Africans to wealth creation. It's so sad that a lot of our youths run out of the country looking for greener pasture when we have the greener field here. And with agriculture, we've been able to lead Africa into seeing how we can generate passive revenue from agric and sustain our families. And today we have well over 100 staffs at the back office and well over 4,000 realtors who sell our products. And we have over 4,000 clients across Africa, Europe, North and South America. And from Nigeria, we're able to help them plan how sustainable their lives can be. Jokingly today, you have a lot of Nigerians who are being deported. But providing leadership to that is a fact that they have something back home to fall back, and they can come back home and live. We are seeing that change, also helping Africans to plan their lives beyond running abroad to look for greener pasture.
Mm-hmm. And now the world is really evolving so fast in terms of technology and AI. I mean, everybody is scared. I'm also scared that one day you'll be sitting with a robot here interviewing you. It's taking over my job. So how does Assetrise Limited leverage technology and innovation to stay ahead in the market?
The days of my father, palm plantation takes longer before the revenue comes in. So you stay for 7, 8 years before you start reaping. But this day with technology and with improved seedlings, in 3 years, in 2 years, the oil palm is already producing. And then we have better yield because of technology in terms of the processing. The processing plant now are almost automated. You put a palm bunch and then you're going to get either palm oil, palm kernel oil, fibers, the kernel nut, and every other thing can be produced with automation. So technology is helping to make this all better. And we are so afraid also that someday AI will take over the entire process of even harvesting or processing. But the good news is if AI is going to take over the labor, people can plan their income.
What do they say in Nigeria when someone wants to leave the country? And
if you decide to jack,
so the investments are safe.
100%.
Okay.
So we have a lot of Nigerians in diaspora. This is their best instrument to invest back home, because you're not here, the palm trees are grown, and you're not going to replant them every year. You can just be earning your income wherever you are in the world. This is sustainable for you, for agric. Nigerians, Africans, and the global economy, the global community can invest in this palm plantation. Most of the palm plantations in here are owned by foreigners. where we're saying that the wisdom for Africans to come together and invest collectively into projects like this will build wealth for Africans in Africa.
Right. And speaking of big projects like this and also building wealth, this involves money. What are some of the biggest challenges, or rather also opportunities, in the asset management and investment sector today, in your opinion?
Great. I think asset management and the quality asset investment in Nigeria is skyrocketing because it is a developing economy. So, for example, you have properties skyrocketing in price because the demand is so high. Tourism skyrocketing because assets are now becoming source of tourism. And so a lot of people investing back in Nigeria right now, one of the greatest instruments to invest in is asset ownership, land ownership, property ownership, and then you have good appreciation. Now with the palm plantation, the number one value that you have is an asset that is always going to appreciate, and is an asset that can self-pay you back if English permits me, right? The return is automated. It's all encompassing as an asset.
Right. So, but, it's easier said than done. And you mentioned something about retirement. Now, I like to focus more on the youth. I mean, our age group, right? More, because we also need to think beyond the office, the 8 to 5 jobs and things like that. So how easy or hard has it been for you to convince even youth or young people in diaspora to say, this is the real thing to investing in Nigeria?
Awesome question. We have a major focus on the youth now, and we know that affordability is an issue. So we've been able to create a payment plan that can enable them own this asset for over 3 years and spread for as low as 20,000 naira, and they can save towards this asset ownership. And while they are saving, by the third year, so for example, if I'm in the uni and I start today, by the time I'm graduating, I have an asset that can pay me monthly if I am not getting a job yet. Like my story, I was 14, my father died, the asset took care of me to even go to do every kind of education I want, even to do my Harvard degree and my Harvard courses, because the asset was planned for me as a child. So for parents, this is a good instrument to plan for your children's tuition and also to plan them getting a source of income when they're out of school. So when I graduate and I know I have an asset that can give me good money, I can focus on taking more courses and building my profession because I have an assurance of income. For youth, we say that this is a very major means of youth and women empowerment to create income for them. If youth have an assurance of an income, it will reduce crime in the country because they have something to fall back. So we are very much passionate about youths getting into this. Lastly, I'll give an example with my state, in Ondo State precisely. The average young fellow, while he's in school, the parent is already teaching them to own a pantry farm. So from secondary school, they own pantry farm. By the time they're getting out of secondary school, they're already financially stable. Because they get out of secondary school, their farm is giving them money and they can get married, start their family.
But I hope that they also then use this to their own good, not to start now misbehaving that, oh, I have money already and my parents worked for me. But I also really like to focus on Africa as a continent, because I'm not Nigerian, you're Nigerian, you're trying to talk to Nigerians, but we also need to focus on Africans. Are there any plans in the pipeline that you're going to expand into Africa? And also, if other African nationals want to do something like this, what advice would you give them? Are there any projects in the pipeline?
Yes, thank you. Awesome. So last year I was in Manchester for a summit, and we have lots of Africans in the room, Cameroonians, and most of them came to meet me. Oh, we want this in Cameroon. Liberia, we want this in Liberia. So we are focusing now beyond the palm-rich Nigeria to oil palm-rich Africa. Okay, Africa has good land that can palm, and if there's one thing that Africa can distribute around the world is food. So
that's why obviously they're also pushing for inter-Africa trade because it helps.
Also, so we want to take more African countries into this challenge. The demand for the palm produce, palm oil, palm kernel oil is so huge. Nigeria has a deficit of over 700,000 metric tons, and we need over 1 million hectares of land to cultivate to meet our local demand. I'm sure Cameroon, Ghana, Liberia, everyone also. So if we are able to create this model across, and last year also we met some partners at our presentation at the House of Lords who challenged us to say, create this model, take it around the African countries. One, it will create jobs for a lot of African youths. Two, it will support the African drive for food security. Number 3, it will help rural development, because when these projects are in rural areas, a lot of development will come to the rural community and liberate youth and women. So number 3, it's a major source of environmental protection. The trees are going to give carbon to the ozone, and then we have Africa beyond the food contributing to the global campaign for climate change.
Right.
So that's a major investment we should take around Africa.
Right, but the countries you mentioned are more in West Africa. Let's talk about countries that maybe the soil is different. You can't have palm trees like Zimbabwe, where I come from, Southern Africa. Do you have a plan that in the future you can look at even other plants or other countries that are not focusing more on palm trees, and also even train some Africans to also this business that you're doing, which is like the Agro Real Estate? Yes.
Awesome. There's something we have in Africa. In some part of Africa, we have a lot of land. And this land is a great asset that we can bump to wealth. So like you said, we should convert this land to agric in some places. So beyond palm tree, animal husbandry. In the north of Nigeria, the palm trees don't do so well, but they do more of the meat, ranching, cattle, and agro real estate can be practiced. And so in some part of Africa where we can have the land for palm tree, the agro smart city is not focused on palm trees alone.
Okay.
We have greenhouses, we have the animal husbandry and the rest that can also come through this. So we're developing a full concept of an agro smart city where you have agric, you have tourism, you have processing, and you have core agriculture that is focused on different type of agriculture. And more also produce that we can export to anywhere in the world. Certified produce that can come into Europe, can go to America and get forests for Africa.
And how does Assetrise Limited contribute to community development and corporate social responsibility?
So with all that we've done so far, in our portfolio, we have partnership with major universities in Nigeria currently. One is the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, where we're currently empowering 1,500 students, training them to be focused on agric as empowering them for the future. We've also signed an MOU with the Federal Polytechnic Ilaro, where we're developing greenhouses for agric, and the students can learn agric and the trade. And for communities, we make pipe bore water, water for distribution to communities, especially our host communities. And for students of some of our host communities, we give scholarship to some of the students so that we have good value to the communities where we are playing. And we have a major part of our profit that is dedicated to feeding people who can afford food. So about 5% of our profit every month is dedicated to providing food for communities. So we have a timetable and we move around communities to provide them food for those who cannot afford or in the communities.
Right. Now, as we wrap up our discussion, Rotimi, I'll call you that. What key lessons have you learned in your journey as a business leader, and what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs?
That's a good question. I think we should be focused internally rather than always trying to jack back.
Okay, to leave the country.
Yeah. There are more opportunities in our motherland. We should focus and look for those opportunities. I mean, a lot of us take 20 million, go to Europe to school. It's good to go to Europe to school. But after spending 20 million, we don't get jobs. Then we come back to poverty. What I've learned, I schooled in UK and I came back to Nigeria to take advantage of the opportunities we have here and created something.
Was that always your plan, or is it because you didn't find a job in?
I never wanted to work in the UK.
Okay.
So immediately, I dropped my paper, and the second day I was at the airport.
Is it the weather that chased you away?
Not just the weather. I believe so much opportunities in Africa.
Right.
That we should tap in. It's a developing economy, and there are more opportunities here. So for Nigerians, for our youths, let's be focused here. We will create wealth from here and export it globally, rather than foreigners coming to create wealth here
and then take it back
to become slave in their countries.
Oh, right.
That's for me the lesson.
There you go, Africa. I've been speaking to Oluwadurotimi Ojamamoye. He's the founder of Assetrise Limited here in Lagos, Nigeria. Until next one, obviously an exclusive one again. My name is Josey Mahachi. Bye for now.